Okay, we are now live. Good evening. Apologies for the delay. Welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Ryan, and you're very welcome, all Broadsheet commenters, readers, even the naughty trolls. You're all very welcome. On the panel tonight is Johnny Keenan, Neil Curran, Laura Gaynor, and a new face, Vanessa Folan, who's have I got the name right, Vanessa? The second name?
Foreign, yeah.
Foreign,
Hi,
yeah.
everyone.
Vanessa is an accountant, and tonight is a kind of a housing crisis special. First, 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes or so. But I've also asked her to have a look at the RT accounts, which came out this week. So we might talk about that later. Vanessa, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Vanessa, as John just said. I'm an insolvency practitioner and an accountant. I specialise in insolvency, particularly crisis mortgages, family home mortgages. And I have developed or worked very closely with approved housing bodies and using voluntary assisted sale to housing bodies as a solution to unsustainable mortgages and general debt that will never be paid, and people whose lifestyles have changed since they took down their mortgage and dealing with that. So that would be my particular area of work.
Yeah, you would save people from repossession, is that?
Well, we would intervene before the repossession. They've probably already entered proceedings, because in order to qualify even for social housing, your mortgage has to be deemed unsustainable, and at that point proceedings have already commenced. Or in some cases an execution order might have already been signed, and we can still step in at that point,
And just before we start on the list, is it as bad now, Vanessa, as it was, say, 4 years ago?
It's worse. It's actually worse. Yeah.
In what respect? The actual repossessions are the?
Well, yeah, I think more judges. Well, actually, they're principally county registrars. I think they're signing more now. I don't know whether it's the build-up of cases getting pushed over for years, or whether the word has come from up above to start signing these off.
Yeah.
The thing is, if a possession order is signed, it doesn't happen very quickly. There could easily be, you could easily keep getting adjournments for about 2 years, and then once the possession order is signed, you'll get a stay. You might, if you're lucky, in Dublin you might get 6 months. In some places you might get 12 months, but then they may not get signed in 12 months. They could still be in the house 2 years later,
Yeah.
So, and at that point, even if there's a way that maybe a housing body can step in, even at that stage, I mean, the county, an active county registrar might hold off signing the execution order.
Right. And how? I mean, are you having much success?
Yeah, we've had fantastic solutions in some well, I suppose it's probably unfair to say there were fantastic cases, but there were extraordinary cases. Every case is different, and even in insolvency or in bankruptcy, everybody's story is different. So everyone's solution is different. Everyone's process is different. So the idea that there should be one process for everybody, or a cookie cutter style regime people who come out of that have obviously never gone and dealt with people one-to-one,
But so things are bad, but your success is comparable to the situation, is it?
Well, I think they stack up. They're measurable. Their solution. I work closely with an approved housing body, and we're solution. It's focused. It's all about the solution. Johnny and Mary need to keep their house. They need to stay in the house. They need to stay in this area, for various supports. It might be the local school has an autistic class, takes in autistic children, or the mental health centres close by where they're monitored and stuff like that. There's bus stops if you're in a wheelchair. There's bus stops nearby and things like that. So they need to stay in the community, and the solution stacks up, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper for the actual householder as well, versus mortgage to rent. It's a way cheaper solution, and their debt is reduced massively, and they control the sale of their property. They control the price. Whereas if they surrender their house through the mortgage to rent process, they have no control. They don't get to negotiate the price. Right. They don't know who's going to purchase their house. It could be a big national housing body. And John and Mary could end up moving from Kilmead to Athy, and they'd be totally out of their community, even though it's close by, I know, but that would be hard for a family that are embedded in a community,
And what would be the average of the late mortgage? Do people just stop paying? I mean, is that effectively?
Yeah, they do. Now, you would have some families that would manage 20 quid a week, and they'd keep paying the 20 quid a week. But if they're in a mortgage that once it goes into arrears, to be honest with you, it snowballs. There's actually two debts. There's the whole debt and there's the arrears debt, and the arrears debt actually has a snowball effect. It escalates out of control because of the interest that's stitched into the debt once it's in arrears, So it escalates very, very quickly, particularly those subprime mortgages that were sold,
Yeah. Are they still, I mean, they're not being sold, but are you still dealing with the aftermath of those?
Yeah. The other big issue actually that caused a lot of householders a problem is when they got top-ups, to get that it's 10 years ago, the house that they bought for 50,000 was now worth 150,000. So they decided to get a top-up and do the whole thing up. Yeah. And then that's at a different rate to the original mortgage, and that pushes them over the line. And then he gets made redundant. He's 58. They have another 5 years to go, and
nobody wants to buy a hot tub.
And you can't put them into insolvency because they can't afford insolvency. They've only one creditor, which is their family home mortgage debt. So obviously you have to come up with a different solution that is not, that's not bankruptcy.
Yeah. And you said that there was a shift when we spoke earlier, that there was a shift now towards private sector in terms of approved.
Oh yeah. They want to run the mortgage to rent system.
But you said a householder would, or a mortgage, like somebody in that predicament would probably prefer a vulture fund to own the mortgage. Is that?
Oh yeah. You get a better deal from the vulture funds.
You do.
Oh, you do, yeah, and they're way more decent to the debtor. Far more polite on the phone, and if you were to arrange a meeting in one of these, they come down and they meet you at the door, and they treat you far better than. I won't mention a very famous Main Street bank.
Okay.
But yeah, if your mortgage has been sold off, I could name three, but I won't. You'll get a far better deal, and certainly the housing bodies get much better deals
from the vultures.
Oh yeah, one is approached recently with a bundle to see if we can do to keep the tenants. The owner of the property eventually becomes the tenant. So to keep these people in the homes as tenants, Nice. And actually, with the voluntary assisted sale to a housing body, the costs of the sale are way reduced. So the creditor bank just has to sit back and wait for the check to come in. They don't have to engage valuers, solicitors, auctioneers, and all that debt, all that cost goes on to the debt. So if Johnny and Mary's house, if they could sell it for 90,000 to a housing body, and instead it goes mortgage to rent and ends up being 60,000, plus all the other costs, so their debt has increased. Well, the process actually increases people's debt.
Right, Vanessa, thank you very much for that. It's
sorry, it went on too long, guys.
Not at all. No. It's very instructive. But I just wanted to say at the top of the show that myself and Laura Gaynor, we were discussing what on the actually Laura was discussing on the show last week what we could do. So we decided to do this thing called Decent Gaffs, which is going to be like a dating, like a Tinder for landlords, decent landlords and decent tenants to, or even decent people who want other decent people to house share. Or Laura, will you please explain what we're trying to do?
Yeah, okay. So, like, it was one of the days on Broadsheet on the telly, I was talking about sassy socialist landlords. But really what I mean to say is for landlords who are maybe decent, they're looking to rent out their room at a reasonable price. For tenants who want a reasonable place, they don't want to be paying through the roof. They want a house of a good standard. And also for housemates that are looking for other housemates who are going to be good housemates. Yeah. So we're calling it Decent Gaffs. I'm not 100% sure technically how it's going to work, but I think what John is describing is a sort of a Tinder for housemates.
Or a Grindr, whatever your preference.
Sorry.
So, I mean, I'm really curious to see what the response will be, and I'm hoping that there'll be a good response, because I do believe that there is a percentage of landlords who are out there that are, who are maybe looking to rent it out to the right person. If, you know, as in if the person is decent and they think they're going to maintain the property, that they would rent it to them at an okay price. And equally, you know, I also think that there is plenty of houses out there, like, and when they have a space in the house, they wouldn't be inclined to post it on Daft, you know, maybe because they don't want to get a billion responses. So I suppose that's where we're going with this.
Yeah,
we want to maybe see if we can set a sort of a standard that we can, you know, to maybe empower the tenants a little bit more.
Thanks, Laura. Johnny Neal, what do you think of that idea? There's decent landlords out there. Allegedly, there's decent landlords out there, and there's obviously.
I don't know about what happened.
Okay. Sorry, Johnny.
I'm only messing with this. I know decent landlords, and I can count them all in one hand.
Yeah. On the fingers of nothing.
I'm interested. I'm interested in Laura's concept. So can I develop it a little bit more? Like, are you looking for decent tenants, basically? How do you become
it's for, like, saying the idea is that, like, houses that go up on the likes of Daft, like, there's almost no standard to them. Like, I'm gonna screen share now and show you some of the best of the worst, some of the best of the worst of things that have gone up on Daft, and really and truly a lot of them are really, really, really bad. So I suppose maybe part of it is that maybe that a room, it's still very conceptual, by the way, that a room wouldn't be able to go up on Daft unless, I mean, that a room wouldn't be able to go up on Decent Gaffs unless it was hitting a certain standard. So at least people know that maybe that there is a seal of quality when a house does go up on it.
Well, I'm seeing as our gaffs, so
yeah.
But how will we bypass that, Laura? I mean, how will the dodgy landlords not sneak in with their?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like, I think what myself and John were saying is that if the landlords who want to advertise on Decent Gaffs, that they have to be hitting certain standards, or else we just don't publish. We don't publish their postings, you know.
Well, it'll be free for a start. It'll be free for everybody to say, like, I am Laura Gaynor. I'm 20 odd. I'm looking for to share with other women or other, mixed, and these are my interests. This is what et cetera, et cetera. And then the landlord can say, I'm a decent landlord. I have a room to rent, and then their details, and then like a Lonely Hearts almost. No.
Is it going to be difficult though to define? Like, certainly with landlords defining what the minimum standards are or the approved standards are is great, but in terms of tenants, how do you have any thoughts around how you define decent tenants? Because I'm sure all tenants would say they're decent tenants.
Mm.
So how any thoughts around it's a great initiative. It would certainly, you know, help a percentage of the market out there. It's just kind of how to define that.
Well, I suppose you'd hope that everybody will be like decent, and you know, I think
we were thinking one of the things we were thinking of doing is if we were to do a sort of a BuzzFeed type survey is into what type of tenant are you, you know, as into that, like you're asked certain questions like you see this, what do you do, or are you the type of tenant who is sociable, not sociable, that kind of thing. Maybe if people are honest about the type of tenant they are, because some tenants are really chatty and they want to get to know everyone in the house, and other ones don't. And certain houses favour certain types of tenants. Some houses do want the tenants who are extremely chatty and lively and stuff, and other ones don't. So maybe it's maybe honesty when it comes to the tenants, and decency when it comes to the landlords. But as in, if the tenants who are looking for somewhere are just honest, like the type of person they are. Now, I suppose that does depend a lot on honour and stuff, and on people being honest. But that's kind of maybe what I'm thinking.
Well, it's a bit like it's a bit like Tinder, where somebody maybe who's I don't know, maybe like old and pretending to be, you know, young or younger. I can imagine that goes on, but with this, it would be just like I'm a landlord, you know, say I'm renting a room. I'm looking for somebody very easygoing. I'm a smoker, say, or you know, or whatever. Just it's basically the ad itself would be he's got a room or she's got a room. That sounds up my street.
Yeah,
I think
that's
kind of yeah.
Sorry.
I think the main thing is just screening the type of rooms that are going up, that the rooms that what is going up on the site is of a certain quality.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's difficult just from photographs alone, although you can judge a dump from a photograph. Vanessa,
sorry. I was sneaking out.
Have you ever been a landlady?
I was.
And what was the experience like?
It was fine. It was two lads renting a house for the same tenants for 2-3 years until I sold it. That was it.
Yeah, and your experience was like the decent tenants, right?
Yeah, they just knocked on the door every month with the book, and that was it. Never an issue. No.
Yeah. You see, and you're a decent landlady, I guess.
Well, I never saw myself that way, but I feel like a bit, you know, Beth Lynch or something.
But there must be.
I think, you know, probably goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I think you need to make it more attractive for landlords, and you know, the policy thing, a discussion around this whole rental sector is maybe it's time to split housing into investment and family homes and separate them out, even for tax purposes, you know, and a property that's designated for investment as a letting, you know, a residential dwelling is either going to be a family home or it's going to be a rented home.
Okay.
So to make it more attractive for people, you know, an investment residential dwelling should have different tax, you know, like capital allowances and stuff, and that would bring in more landlords rather than just treating everything under case 5, which is a tax. All the income earned is taxed as, all the rent is taxed as income. So in that point, you know, in that regard, it's very expensive for a landlord, if you want to say that, or someone who rents out properties. So if you have a property that's designated, this is just what I think, but if you have a property that's designated as investment with a separate tax structure, and that can only ever be one of those properties, and like a family home property can only ever be a family home.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's the way to look at things going forward. Also, the rent-to-room scheme, I don't think gets enough publicity. You know, it's 14,000 a year, tax-free.
But this is what the decent landlord side of the decent gaffs thing would, I mean, there's going to be it's 14,000 tax free. I mean, there's going to be a huge number of novice.
That's over 1,000 a month. That's over 1,000 a month into your household.
So there's going to be loads of new landlord, novice.
My only worry is they hear the 14,000 a month. Do they think they now have to charge 1,000 a month for a room? That's my only thing. As in now, the 14,000 a month, that could be 2 rooms in your house. But as in, I do think as in charging 1,000 a month, no matter where it is, to be honest, is a bit too high. That's the only reason why I really wish they would cap it a little bit lower than 14,000.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
well, you see, it's really a central bank thing, really, as well, because that rent to room is used for people's mortgage applications. It has been certainly has been since the original Celtic Tiger. So people reuse that, and even actually, I see it myself when people send in their SFSs to banks when they're in arrears. They put rent to room income, and an insolvency arrangement recently, it was used, rent to room income was accepted, which is extraordinary, but that's the way it is.
Wow. Okay. So these new landlords and new landladies, people who will start doing this, and not just Airbnb, they'll be looking for students and stuff and whatnot. They won't know where to go. I mean, landlords people who rent out have such a bad reputation at the moment that the decent ones don't know where to really go, do they, Laura? Would you say that?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. Yeah, I would say that they probably are. I mean, it's hard to know. It's hard to really know what is the percentage. But I'd definitely say there are landlords out there who would be reasonable, that maybe don't have a place to go. So I'm hoping that this would give them that opportunity, and also maybe encourage people to do the rent a room scheme. But so I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, I think that vetting what goes on. Another thing I think would be good is when someone is filing a room on the site, that they have to answer certain direct questions about the room, is there public transport nearby? Do they have access to the kitchen, or this sort of thing? The questions that the tenants are awkward about asking. Is there a fire alarm? So that so that people can see what are the expectations of the landlord and what is the actual room like. To remove a certain amount of that awkward. That's my other hope. I mean, it is still a little bit up in the air at the minute, but
Okay. So just a series of questions. Do you have a fire alarm? Do you have do you have a mattress?
Yeah.
Is the fridge next to the pillow? Which I think in some of those pictures they are, aren't they? I mean,
well, in some of these places, as in you don't actually really have access to a kitchen, and it's not really made clear enough. As in the time when I went to the one that I talked about on Sean O'Rourke, the no showers, no visitors, no boyfriends, no skateboards house. That was a place that I visited in South Dublin with the intention of renting it. You didn't actually have really any decent access to the kitchen. And it was only that I asked about it, so if I had accepted it, I might have gone to rent it and then found out that you couldn't get access to the kitchen. So I think maybe asking some really direct questions to a landlord who's posting something up on decent gaffs would remove just a lot of awkwardness, because it does straight up just ask them the various questions. A bit like Facebook, when you want to find out something about someone and you just look up their Facebook profile. You want to find it. You know what I mean, in that kind of way.
Absolutely. Sorry, Vanessa seems to be doing her filing her tax returns. So Neil.
Sorry.
Neil, have you ever been a landlord or?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we have in Ireland is if we've got a culture of, certainly in recent years, of accidental landlords, and I'm sure Vanessa can kind of talk to that. I like the idea of what's been touted, but I think it's going to only really cater probably for, well, certainly would be great for house shares. It would eliminate a lot of fears people would have with that, but I think it's going to cater for good people which would be a percentage of that market. You know, I guess, you know, a decent tenant in a landlord's eyes is somebody who doesn't have any problems and pays their rent on time. You know, which is nice, I guess, from a landlord's perspective.
Like, would you consider, if you were an empty nester or whatever, if you had a spare room, would you consider it becoming a landlord like this year, for instance?
Yeah, well, but it depends on your circumstances as well. I mean, you know, people who are raising young children may not be comfortable and they may be in financial strife, and that might be something they're not comfortable with. And then the stress and the woes of having to handle a licensee, I think they're called, and all the woes that come with that. So it really does depend.
But if you were a single man, say, and you had your own place, a house, say two bedroom detached, I mean, it's very attractive, isn't it? 14,000.
And I'd probably have people wondering where I got all the money from as well. It would. And again, it's just circumstantial if you're, you know, if you've got the freedom to be able to do that. But, you know, if you look at, say, people who bought apartments during the boom because they were a sure thing, and, you know, there was an era of, you know, shoebox one-bed apartments before regulations were changed on minimum size. And of course, once those eligible bachelors and bachelorettes meet people, settle down, and then their apartments now will never get back to the level that they are. And then you take into consideration, I've mentioned it before, like the Beacon South Quarter, the issues there with flooding and fire damage. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who can't sell their property now as a result. They're now accidental landlords. You know,
I remember going into Charlotte Key, you know, the big, like about 10 years ago, I was there, and it was only a few years old, and the thing was kind of falling apart a bit. You know?
Yeah, so it seems from, and you know, Vanessa, interject if I'm talking out my arse, but it seems it seems to be, you know, that the certainly perspective of the layman looking at how the government treats it, you know. Landlords are viewed in the public eye as these nasty overlords of meanness, which are highlighted by people who say no girlfriends, no boyfriends, and no skateboards.
A lot of guards on
yeah. The thing is, there, like you're talking about, Laura was talking about, you know, the no showers, the no skateboards. Like there was rules like that 30, 40 years ago. You know, you can only use the shower once a week, and you know, I mean, some of those bedsits that were around in the 80s and 90s, you know, like you could be in bed and fry your rashers at the same time, and you have to share the toilet with the builder, you know, from Carlo or something, you know. So you know, I don't think the experience is any different. The only thing that's different now is that there was more availability then than there is now, you know. And I'd love to know whatever happened to the idea of the bedsit. I mean, there was nothing wrong with them when you first moved to Dublin or Cork. You had a bedsit.
They don't seem to have gone away.
Safety thing or something, yeah.
They just seem to be the bedsit model has turned into that example that Laura has mentioned. Like this,
the bedsit has become the studio. It's the same thing, Vanessa. I mean, they're the same size. In fact, in some cases, they're smaller. You couldn't even get a 2-bar heater in there, like the old
2-bar heater.
The old Superstar.
The Superstar.
You couldn't even get it in.
The smell of cabbage in the hall. They always smelled of cabbage and a wardrobe and a few bikes.
Olga, sorry, Vanessa, I need to introduce Olga because
apologies.
Sorry, Olga Cronin from the Sheet was. Is your mic off?
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
No, because her mic, Olga's mic was gone at the start of the show, so we missed her. Olga has been at the Charlton Tribunal, and we're going to have a quick chat about that. But firstly, we're going to, Olga, would you bring us through tomorrow's papers? What Irish ones there are?
Yeah, we have so I was just shared there. We have the Examiner, and we have the Examiner, and we have the Irish Times. Sorry, so let's share it there. That's up. So there's the Irish Examiner. Sorry, is that right? It should be the Irish Times actually. Pardon. So there's the Irish Times.
Yeah, if we just
Yeah, so there's just the lead there on the left, alarm over soaring costs of special needs education. So it's basically saying that there's been an increase in the number of children diagnosed with autism and other conditions since 2011, and because of that, it's caused a jump in the budget for special needs education, according to the government. Story there by Pat Leahy, political editor there. The report has prompted alarm in the government about the rising costs.
Sharp increase.
So yeah, so the number of people accessing resource teaching now stands at more than 47,000 out of a total school population of 910,000. So apparently it's an increase of 60% since 2012. So yeah, so that's that.
Okay, well,
the number of SNAs, special needs assistants, has grown from 2,988 in 2001 to more than 13,000, an increase of 336%.
good Lord.
So there's that. And there's a story there, a very, very sad story. The little boy, Tristan Neeland, and that's his mum. That's a picture of his mum there, Angela Neeland, outside the High Court today. So basically, Tristan, he's a 6-year-old boy. He had epilepsy and other conditions, and he was staying in a respite care centre in Dublin, and it was run by the St. John of God's Community Services in Dunleary, and it was Carmona Respite Services Centre, and it was in January 2013, and he basically was found unconscious, and he died. And so basically the High Court, this is from the stories from the High Court, like he died in 2013, so he was in the High Court today, and it heard that an oxygen saturation monitor wasn't used on the night of his birth, on the night that he died, and that he had not been checked for an hour, despite needing to be checked every 15 minutes. So there's that, and then below that there's a story about the parole board clears O.J. Simpson. So he's going to leave prison in October after 9 years of prison sentence for his role in the armed robbery in Vegas. And everyone knows, obviously, he was tried for and acquitted of the double murder of his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her, Ron Goldman. There's a piece there, a small piece there, it's just a tag. It's saying that Grenfell, Irish insulation maker Kingspan is at the centre of a dispute over the Grenfell Tower tragedy. So that's the Irish Times. Then in the Examiner, multi-million euro plan set to secure nation's energy supply for decades. So this is by Sean O'Riordan. A gas supply project worth hundreds of millions of euros is being developed by a major American company in the Port of Cork, which will ensure the future of the country's power supply for many decades to come. The plan, involving Texas-based Next Decade and the Port Authority, will see the installation of a new jetty in Whitegate. So you know that the Irish refinery is down there, although it's not called that anymore, in Whitegate. So,
just on the refunds thing, Olga.
Oh yeah. So Juno McEnroe there. So fears of service to cuts to refund water fees. 178 million to come from money underspent in departments. So basically, the finance minister Pascal Donoghue has said that 178 million will be spent on water refunds, but it's going to come across. It's going to come from across the departments, so like money that wasn't spent basically in departments.
Amazing.
But I guess people are,
They just found 178 million. Thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
I'm still reading this the Brendan Ogle book. I'm not still reading it, but I'm going back over with the at the inception of the idea to give the money, the bribe, and it came from Alan Kelly, and it's the one thing that that I never really understood, and I still don't really understand it, is why did Labour take up Phil Hogan's water plan? Does anybody have any thoughts on that, Johnny?
I think that was the start at the end of, or the start of standing up. We were an easy touch until all of that, and then I think the water thing was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Why did Labour? Why do you think the?
Because they were getting away with it for years in relation to every tax to be thrown at us, and the Irish don't give out about anything. So,
Neil,
they didn't think there was a backlash,
Neil,
and they were proven wrong.
sorry,
That was it. That was my interpretation, anyway. I think.
Neil, would you be a traditional Labour voter?
No, wouldn't. But there was things that they did have over the years that I liked, but no.
Why do you think a party like Labour would, go full pelt behind this kind of neoliberal, at the hard edge, the rough edge of neoliberal?
Because it's hipster and cool, and you got to do that to get in touch with the younger voters. I don't know. It was kind of
okay.
It was barmy.
Okay, am I the only person interested in this? I probably am. I mean,
water, you don't pay water, Johnny.
Well, no one does by all accounts.
Yeah, I tell you one thing though, I miss Phil Hogan on the Irish scene. He was a great target, and he was, you'd miss his swagger and his just sheer gambine head on him, strutting along and threatening to kick in doors. For me, he's missed.
Well, yeah,
they turned off at the mains. Was that his big quote?
Yeah, he was going to triple it or something,
Yeah.
To a trickle, yeah. Turn it off to a trickle. That was it, Vanessa. Yeah.
He's too busy enjoying the water in Austria at the moment. Is he over in Austria still?
Oh, he's twinned with Austria or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when he went to Europe, because we did whatever, just get him away from
it, yeah.
Cameras and notebooks and whatever. But when Alan Kelly, this guy from nowhere, took on this cudgel, and why would a party self-immolate like in that way?
Okay, I've got a theory on that. I think Brian Cowan had a kind of a bullish kind of tactic, and the way he talked, he got business done. Phil Hogan had the same.
Yeah.
And Kelly had the exact same, almost the same dialect and the same diction, and the forceful attitude that they had. They just thought they could get away with it, and then there's people going, "Another fucking bully, you go away with that," and that was it. It was bully by tactics. That's all I heard. You're going to be in submission, like, or something.
What was he like as a constituency TD? Are you down there, Johnny?
Well, what was he like as constituency TD? He was a Fine Gaeler, I suppose, is the only way I can answer that, Vanessa. So, what is he? A farmer from out the road? He had a run-ins with
or something. He went to UCC. That's what I know. I know he went to UCC, and instead of saying he did arts, I think they say he has a degree in geography and I don't know.
Why? Yeah.
History.
Well, if anybody could answer that, why did the Labour Party let Alan Kelly take over? And and also we have to look at the fact that his brother is Declan Kelly, who runs Tenny Holdings, who are big into water privatization around the world.
Okay, well, there you go. You've answered your own question.
Well, I haven't. But my question wasn't really about Alan Kelly. I've no time for Alan Kelly. My question was about the Labour Party, old Labour.
Okay, no, but there's a vested interest, and
Johnny.
It was like, sorry, I beg your pardon, John. Go on, yeah.
No. Because why people like Rory Quinn and I don't know, these old Labour guys, Jim Kemp, why would they let this young Alan Kelly with his neoliberal and to take on something like water, which they had already promised in the election that they wouldn't go with? Why wouldn't they let like Pascal Donoghue deal with it or somebody else? Yeah, sorry.
He's the wrong party there. Do you know, I think Alan Kelly looked for the job.
Sorry, yeah, wrong person. Yes, of course he did. Yeah,
I think he looked for the job. I think he's always up for the fight. There was in the last general election in the Count Centre, he was roaring like an ape. You'd swear he'd beaten Usain Bolt or something. This. I think Broadsheet might have had a photograph up of him. Up on the shoulders or something. I think he just loves the fight. I think he's just a natural argumentative person, but he's from Tipperary, so he's a
politician, and he was one of, he was like, he got so much stick coming up that election for the water charge thing, and then he felt he was vindicated because he got back in. So if people really wanted to give him shit for being the front runner for the water campaign and Labour, and like, you know, almost the centenary of the execution of the founder of the Labour Party, I don't know, none of these, the penny didn't drop for anyone in the Labour Party. The way they allowed Kelly to deal with the water situation, he got it and ran it for Alan Kelly. He wasn't representing Labour or anyone else.
Okay, well,
That was the problem there. But I think you were asking the bigger question, John, about Labour. How did Labour get wrapped up in this?
Yeah, but John,
I don't think there is any answer. Sorry, Olga. Yeah,
is there a
please.
suggestion in the book? Did Brendan Ogle have a suggestion as to why?
Well, I mean, he does. Yes, he does actually. I mean,
is Brendan Ogle very close to the John Reid type Labour? You know, the British Labour Party pre.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Blair.
Yeah, he is, but and he's not. Like he doesn't like Paul Murphy. He says he does. He says as much. He doesn't like him at all. He doesn't like his. You know, I don't know. He doesn't want a Marxist, whatever, market economy. You know, the sort of full-blown socialism. He wants a progressive. I don't know. It sounds sort of weak, but sort of a social. I don't know. He's like a non-politician, really. You know, the guy was a train driver.
Yeah, he led the original train strike. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an autodidact. Is that the word? Somebody who, like, he's obviously done a lot of reading and taught a great deal about this. I was very impressed with it, but he doesn't have really a theory on this. He asked the question and he says it's never been fully asked. It's never been fully asked. However, he does say that the questions about Declan Kelly and Alan Kelly have never been asked either. You know, so he leaves that the implication that, you know, there was some kind of takeover of the Labour Party. That's what it seemed, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like an ideological.
I think those older guys were just done. They had their pensions. They'd done their bit. They brought Labour to the table and got them into government. And, you know, they had their ministers. They did what they could when they got the bigger ministries, you know.
Yeah.
And they were done. They were done. Time was up, you know.
Olga, sorry, we're jumping all over the place, but I wanted to talk about Paul Williams in the Charlton Tribunal. You've done amazing stuff on the site. I don't know if anybody's following the Charlton Tribunal. It's quite convoluted, but great stuff. So I wanted to talk about Paul Williams. He was up on stand on Tuesday, and it kind of really starts with him meeting Misty.
Yeah, so basically, just so people know, so obviously, you know, if this is an investigation into an alleged smear campaign, and so because Paul Williams is the only person to have written about Misty, about this allegation, but he never named Misty and he never named McKay, and there was no geography in the articles, just to make that clear. But he did write 4 articles between April and May, and so quite pertinent for the timing of what happened. So if we remember, like, she did Misty did counselling in August 2013. A big mistake was made. Then it wasn't until May 2014 that it was found out. So the articles preceded the correction. Now, William said that he never heard about the rape allegation, which was a false allegation, until he read in the media after prime time, did a piece in it this year. So, and actually didn't even see the prime time, but he read about it afterwards. But anyway, that's just to make that clear. But he did meet Misty, and he interviewed her, videoed some of the meetings, and then these 4 subsequent articles. And the 4 subsequent articles are just basically about this girl who was saying that she was abused and that there was an investigation and that it was a farce and that she didn't believe it was carried out correctly, and she wanted it to be included in this list of or in this dossier that had been given by Micheál Martin to Sean Gearan, if you remember. And so, if you remember, that dossier was given to Micheál Martin by Sergeant Marcy McCabe. So, anyway, that's kind of the gist of the 4 articles. But one of the articles introduced a whole new allegation.
Yeah.
And it basically, it was different to the original allegation in the sense that in one of the articles it said that Miss D was saying that the perpetrator had closed the door and that it had gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
And those two things that weren't in the original allegation. And also, sorry.
No, I don't want to interrupt your flow.
But Michael McDougall, who's representing Sergeant Maurice McCabe, he went through the articles forensically on Tuesday, and he basically outlined how he was rehashing old stuff. He was saying that, you know, this person said yesterday, whereas in actual fact he had reported a couple of days previous and it wasn't. He was talking. So Michael McDougall was kind of accusing Paul Williams of orchestrating Miss D's meeting with Micheál Martin and orchestrating or trying to put pressure, let's say, almost on Micheál Martin to meet him. And then there was a story about how maybe Enda Kenny is set to add this allegation to this dossier, whereas in fact there had been no confirmation from Enda Kenny about that. It had only been that Miss D had got kind of a confirmation from Micheál Martin that he had passed it on to Enda Kenny. So basically, Michael McDougall ripped apart the articles and accused him of orchestrating, and he completely and utterly rejected it.
Right. Now, McDougall and Williams were McDougall was is senior counsel for Maurice McCabe, and he was questioning Williams, and it was intense, wasn't it?
It was intense, but actually the most explosive part of Williams's evidence came afterwards, and it actually had nothing to do with McDougall in the sense that, so I don't want to bore everyone or confuse anyone, but at the start of him giving evidence, he listed a list of questions that he had said that he had given to the head of the Garda Press office, Dave Taylor. I just remember Dave Taylor is the centre of all of this whole thing. He's alleging that there was a Smith campaign and he was instructed to do it. So basically, at the start of his evidence, Paul Williams basically explained that he met Miss D and interviewed her, and that he then subsequently had several phone calls with Dave Taylor where he had this list of questions answered. And that's grand, right? So if you just put that to the side, then throughout the evidence, Michael McDougall tore them apart, whatever. Then just before lunchtime, Peter Charlton, the judge who's overseeing it, basically said to Dave Taylor's senior counsel, I'm going to give you these 3 questions and I want you to speak to your client during lunchtime and come back with the answers. Yeah. So he did do that. And the questions were basically something like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were basically like something, what did you say? Why did you say it? Stuff like that. So then he came back from lunch and Paul Williams was back in giving evidence, and so Charlton went to John Ferry, and John Ferry basically explained that it was his client's instructions, or that Dave Taylor was saying that, first of all, that there was one phone call that Paul Williams rang him on the day that he was with Miss D and that he was still at the house when he called him, and he claimed that Paul Williams said, this man has destroyed this girl's life, and he said that I'm going to write a very damaging article about
McCabe.
And so obviously, or not obviously, but Williams completely rejected this and said this wasn't true. And then Charlton was kind of like, okay, and what did he say? So he was trying to figure out, basically the questions were like, well, what were the questions that Paul Williams asked and what was the response? And what Taylor was saying, this is what he told me, which wasn't this list of questions. And also Taylor said that Williams did not actually ask him to confirm or deny anything. So Charlton was a bit confused, kind of going, well, okay, what was the purpose of the phone call? And so basically what John Ferry said was that Dave Taylor was going to say that he took a note of what Williams said and was sent it on to Martin Callan and then on to Noreen O'Sullivan by text.
Yeah. So, okay.
So, and again, Paul Williams completely denied it. So obviously that's explosive because that's the center of the whole thing. The whole thing. And but like I said, I can't say it enough. Paul Williams completely denies it.
And there's a number of other discrepancies, aren't
There's a
there?
lot of discrepancies, like
yeah, and we're going to go through them. We're going to do a post in the morning, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, hopefully in the morning. Yeah, because we didn't make it to the. Just to be honest, we didn't make it to the tribunal yesterday. Tomorrow, but yeah, just really briefly again, without boring anyone. But like, if you look at the timeline, Ms. D met the councillor. They've got discrepancies themselves. When I'm saying one thing, and Mr. D met. So it's okay. Mr. D met John O'Reilly, and then that's when they set up the Paul Williams contacts were passed. There's discrepancies between the two of them. Then Miss D meets Paul Williams, and there's discrepancies in evidence between them in the sense of Miss D went to GSOC, she met William Micheál Martin, she met Alan Shatter, and how those things came about, who prompted whom or who suggested to whom, their evidence is different.
Yeah.
He says it was suggested to her by Paul Williams. Paul Williams says absolutely not. That he was asked her. She asked him to set up the meeting with Shatter. She asked him to set up the meeting with Martin, and all the rest.
She had asked.
Discrepancies just go on and on and on. But.
Yeah. And what was your impressions? I mean, did you feel?
I mean,
is there a picture? Is there a picture? Is there a picture emerging, Olga, of the alleged conspiracy, for instance, that the penalty points led to? I mean, Paul Williams was one of those named as a person who one of these elite people who had their penalty points quashed. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Like for him to be working on that story at all, like is probably not the wisest move anyway.
Not kosher. Yeah, and also it was actually, it should be said as well that in the evidence, Michael McDougall kind of pushed Paul Williams to explain, like, who did he tell that he was going to have this interview with, and he kind of said, oh, I work from home, I kind of do my own thing, but he was pushing. He said, well, maybe I did tell the news editor, and it was put to him that, so you told your news editor that you were going down to meet Sergeant Morris McCabe about a sex or going down to a woman about an allegation of sex abuse against.
Yeah.
So, like, newsrooms and journalists, especially in Dublin, it's not exactly a massive,
Yeah. And yeah. Well, I mean, what's next now, Olga?
Well, so there's more guards. So Noel Cunningham was in, and we have to read over that, and Super Leo McGinn was in. So yeah, there's more guards. Kieran Kenny, he's the assistant commissioner. He's going to be in tomorrow, perhaps. So he's the guy who apparently contacted. He's the guy who was referred to as the commissioner when. And I'm probably losing everyone, but when the councillor wrote to her superior to say, I've had another call. She was referring to Ms. D. Ms. D doesn't remember these phone calls, by the way. There was another call. This is after the correction had been made. Yeah. Sorry, the correction or the mistake had been known.
The mistake, yeah.
And she was saying, Ms. D was kind of saying to her, the superintendent still doesn't know, or the chief superintendent still doesn't know, and.
I'm just going to go to Neil. Would you rustle up that the letter to the DPP saying that there was no foundation, it's quite a damning.
Yeah. No
sorry, Neil. I always go to you.
No, we're not disbanding the guards this week either.
No. Let me ask you about
what is your connection to the Gardaí?
I know.
Yeah. He rents out property to the.
Yeah,
he rents property off the guard.
Yeah.
We're like,
who doesn't?
My surname is Shiakana.
Oh, that's it. Is that it?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, right. I thought that you were like in the guards or something like that.
He is. He's messing. He is in the guards.
I'm a plain clothes. No, I'm not.
Does any of this?
So back with him.
Sorry, John.
No, not at all. Does any of this shock you at all?
Oh, completely shocks. Completely shocking. And I made the same point last week. Like at the end of
G-shock.
At the end of all of this, what difference is it going to make? You know, Noreen's off in our jolliers for an extended holiday.
5 weeks.
Where'd she go?
Yeah.
She's hardly in a van down in Garryvaux, is she?
She could be over to Austria to see if they have any more medals to hand out. You know, what really will change, you know, from this, you know, like previous tribunals, nothing. And I just gonna, Olga, I don't mean to put you on the spot again, but you know, a week has passed. Has your personal opinion or view of how it'll all wrap up, has that changed or evolved since last week?
No, I mean, I think my view has quite stayed the same. It's just that I just want to hear everyone, you know, and I think last week we hadn't heard from the guards, we hadn't heard from Steve, we hadn't heard from Paul Williams. So we were just it was just all about the toothless stuff, but there were so many junctures and so many protocols that kept it alive, that were made, that were followed through, and so many that should have happened that didn't. So it was, you know.
Like we're not going to like, we're not even going to see a list of recommendations of changes in the guards, or of, you know, really nothing's going to come out of this other than clearing.
The word from Gil, there was this, I think, speech from Conor Brady today saying that, you know, even the Garda kind of loyalists, like yourself, even the Garda loyalists are, you know, banging the drum for substantial change. Like, Vanessa, you have a feeling, a view on this?
I'm trying to figure out if Paul Williams is, well, maybe I'll confirm, is Paul Williams believable?
Well, so there's discrepancies there, and that's all. I mean, I can only go on facts. You know, like, there are discrepancies there, and discrepancies between him and Misty in relation to why she went when she went to GSOC, and she told them two complete rumors that were about tapes, very, very disparaging, damaging rumors. One of which she said her father told her, and which she admitted. She said he heard from another retired unnamed guard. The other, she said that this John O'Reilly, protection inspector or inspector superintendent, he was contact between Misty and Paul Williams, and he denied that he made that rumor. This is a rumor about hanging around at schools, but like, there's discrepancies there, and that's as far as that's all I can say.
Now, tell the truth now, Olga. Did McDowell just make shit of him?
Oh, I thought he ripped him apart.
Yeah, no.
Because he went through each article, Vanessa, so forensically, and you know, like it was actually almost like a class, like a journalism class. It was like being in a college lecture for journalism. You know, like, you know, just utterly picked it apart. Yeah.
And I think they were quite friendly. I mean, when they met, when he took the stand, it was like,
it's funny. They smiled, or well, I couldn't see McDougall, but I saw Paul Williams smile, and I think McDougall said, "Yeah, I'm." You know, he introduced himself, and he said, "I'm Michael McDougall." And Paul Williams was, or I think you probably know me. And he smiled. There was certainly no smiles by the end. You know.
Oh, yes. Well, and
you want to see the letter, John?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Olga, before you dig that up, do we know what Misty does for a living? Is she a student now, or is she employed? Or
Vanessa, we can't go there because the identification thing. So it's very, they're very strict on that. So we better not.
Okay.
This is the letter from the DPP. Sorry, I'll just. So this is the letter from the DPP to the state solicitor, the Cavan state solicitor. This is from 2007, and this is the letter that lost. Sorry. Sorry. So this is the letter from DPP to the state solicitor. So this is after they do the investigation into McCabe over the allegation, and it says, "Dear Sir, I acknowledge receipt of your letter, dates 1st of March 2007, together with a copy of Garda investigation file. I agree with you and the guards that the evidence does not warrant, sorry about the typos, does not warrant prosecution. There was no admission. The incident as described by the injured party is vague. It appears that it was only when she was 11, 12 that she decided that whatever occurred was sexual in nature. Even if there wasn't a doubt over her credibility, the incident that she described does not constitute a sexual assault or assault. Further, the account given to her cousin, redacted, differs in a number of respects to that given to her parents and the guards. There is no basis for prosecution. So
that was 2007.
That was in 2007. So that was after the investigation into her original allegation. And to be fair to Paul Williams, he said he never saw that, and he did kind of indicate that it would have given him a different view had he seen it.
Okay.
Because there was questions over exactly what Dave Taylor said to him in regards to the DPP's decision. Like they were pushing him to know how detailed and a response, but he just kept saying no. He just said that there was no. But then Dave Taylor completely contradicted and said that there was no such questions and no such answers. So it's just a
well, and you'll be covering it for us next week as well. So sort of keep
we'll get back on track. Yeah, sorry about the last 2 days.
Not at all.
I got tough stations.
And we'll have that. Just before we go, Johnny, three things. You're going to Damien Dempsey tomorrow.
Damo. Going to lift the roof off it. But apparently it's going to be very rainy in Dublin, I'm believing, so we might have to put the roof on it. And it's in Ivy Gardens outside, but I'm expecting a spiritual uprising. And
Do you have a crêpe hat,
and a
Johnny?
soul shakedown. Sorry, Vanessa?
Do you have a crêpe hat?
No. Damien Dempsey, yeah. What can I say about Damien? It's going to be the gig. It's going to be the gig of the summer, hopefully.
Brilliant, and you're going to do a review for the site as well. And the second thing was your haircut. I totally approve.
Some people said to get a haircut, and as my friend Phil says, I got several cuts. My head did get bigger ever since you came on, Vanessa. Massage my ego. I'm feeling like a follically enhanced scalp by next week.
Oh, you look great. And the third thing then, Johnny, sorry to interrupt you, is Jinx on the couch.
Jinx is on the couch, yeah, and he's in all his glory. Jinx.
He got a haircut too.
Is
Can you bring him up for us to see? Can you pick him up? Where is he?
Jinx, do you want to come over and say hello to the...
You know, is that the dog on which Broadsheet was based, John?
No, but it will now.
Let's get the Broadsheet dog just for reference.
That was actually a police dog, Laura, that Broadsheet is based on.
I think it was my dog actually. It was based on.
Wait, hold on.
Bastard child of Broadsheet.
There's Jinx.
Bastard pup.
He's not in the humour. Leave him alone.
Just for reference, let's just see. Hold on a second. Right. Okay.
He's more H and V.
Can you see?
Yeah. We might change it for Jinx. We might get rid of Chomsky. We've had it. Oh, and before I go, actually, next Thursday we're 7 years old, Broadsheet, and so we'll have a bit of gas on the site on the telly next Thursday. And if you want to join us, please just send an email to broadsheet@broadsheet.ie. And it's very simple, isn't it, Vanessa? It's quite easy, isn't it? From your living space or your office or whatever.
It's my office, yeah.
And how did you find it tonight? Was it easy enough?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was fine. I'm sorry about the noise. I was going through my notes from the RT thing, and sorry, I appreciate the
patience.
No, I was grand with the patients. No, it was fine. It was the noise of the rustling of the paper and fixing me hair and stuff. Sorry, even to the viewers, I'm sorry about that.
No sweat, Vanessa.
What?
No sweat.
I absolutely love your dog, Johnny.
Thanks, man.
It looks like a human now with its arms.
Would he get it? Would he get in on an accommodation?
Would he be a decent tenant?
Johnny, is he your assistant's dog?
Well, you know what? Actually, I was and I couldn't really interact there in relation to if you'd asked me. Thankfully, I didn't, John, about what Olga had to go through, because I actually spent the last 3 days in total bliss in the bog. And, Yeah, we're taking, well, actually, in not the what might be construed as where you go for a dump, but in the real outdoor atmospheric bog where you actually work hard on turf.
Cutting the side.
Yeah. No, we're bringing it home, Vanessa. But yeah, I was really thinking that for 2.5 days I was helping the brother out. I was going, Jinx would love this. I know. I came up on the bus and I was going to say next time actually I'm going to just let on him blind, and hopefully Jinx will be my guide dog. That's the only way we can get around it. But you have to try it.
I'll write a reference or something.
You know what would be a good idea, and this is totally random, John? What if you had a pets week on Broadsheet on the telly where people have to bring their pets onto the show? Now,
I'll bring my dog on the next time.
Yeah, guys, I have a huge basset hound, and we're sitting on my lap isn't going to work.
I used to have a turtle, but not anymore. So I wouldn't be able to bring my pet on the telly.
Well, from next Thursday, next Thursday for the 7th birthday, we're going to bring our pets on. Then, okay? I'll bring an animal of some kind. Neil.
Yeah, I'll bring my lad George.
I'll find an old picture of my turtle Squirt and I'll bring it.
Right.
Squirt.
Olga, you could borrow a cat somewhere or a dog, or we'll manage anybody.
But in true Broadsheet fashion, we will start talking about it, and then we'll end up talking about something completely different. So it might be vegetables we'll end up with next week.
Well, from these vegetables, Johnny Keenan, Neil Curran, Olga Cronin, Laura Gaynor, and Vanessa Foran, and myself, John Posterous Ryan. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next Thursday and see you on the side in the morning. Okay. Good night.